so what we'll do is we'll create a website directory, okay, where we'll have our application code. Okay, so that's why I'll also create an application directory. In that application directory we'll have an index.html file, that is our small application. Okay, and then we'll create one docker file. Okay, so I'll explain this docker file. So why we are creating docker file? We want to create a simple there is some noise. So we want to create a custom image. Okay, in that custom image we'll use nginx as the web server, and it will host this index.html page. Okay, so to create that we'll have to create one docker file. In docker file the first line is create a docker let's download a base image. So we are downloading nginx alpine image. Alpine is one of the operating system like CentOS, Fedora, Ubuntu. Okay, and it is very lightweight. You can say specifically most of the people are using for containers. Then we'll set one label. Okay, who created the maintainer this image, custom image, and this is for this is used by developers. In our case, we haven't defined anything inside our code as environmental port. Okay, but just for demo purpose I'm including it. Then we'll set a working directory. Setting a working directory means in the next line we'll be copying some data. Okay, that is our application data, that is index.html, in this working directory. So we need to set a home directory, kind of a working directory. This work directory will be set, and the contents of the app will be copied in this location. Okay, then expose 80 is only for documentation purpose. Just by referring this docker file, anyone can know that this application is running on port 80. And then we'll start the nginx daemon. And why we are using only this US work directory? Because alpine, okay, nginx alpine image stores everything in this location. So any html file or index.html or any type of html pages we should keep in this directory. Okay, and then we'll build it using docker build command, the image. So the syntax is docker build -t. We are giving it a tag, okay, that use web app 1, okay, and then dot. So this dot means check for a docker file in our current directory. Okay, and after creating an image we will run that image using this command. So let's start creating it. So all these contents are also in this link which I have shared. So I'm just quickly creating the directory structure which we require. So I created a website directory. I'm inside the website directory now. In website directory I'm creating an app directory, and now I'll go to app directory, and here I'll create index.html. So the structure is important, where to keep what. So I'm just creating index.html. Okay, pwd, I'm in website app. Now go one directory back, and in website directory we should have a docker file. So while doing the exercise, you may create a docker file inside app directory, or both index.html and docker file inside website directory. You may forget to do create a app directory. So follow the directory structure. Now I'll create a docker file. Enter. This is the docker file now. Now the command to create a docker image from a docker file is docker build -t. We'll give it a name web app 1 and dot. Dot means search for a docker file in the current directory. Wherever you write dot, it will search for anything in the current directory. So it is searching for a docker file in a current directory. And remember the name of the docker file, it should always be, D should be in the uppercase. Okay, so if you see, it has created the image. Okay, For each image there will be a layer. So it downloaded a base image, it created one layer. It set the maintainer or a label, it created a one layer. So for each command you can say it creates a layer. So Docker image comprises of various layers. Now let's check if the image is created. Sudo docker images. Okay, so if you see, we have a web app 1 latest, and why we have nginx as well, because on top of nginx it has created web app 1, so that's why it also downloaded nginx image. So if you see, it has given it a latest tag. Okay, if you don't explicitly provide anything after this, like most of the times we'll be doing this. Okay, v1 or v2, if you don't give it, it will tag it as latest. So it has created a latest custom image called web app 1. Now to create a container from the image, the command will be sudo docker, okay, run in a detached mode -d, then port number p 8081. Let me confirm, it's 81 or something else. Yeah, it is 8081. Map it to port 80. So on local host, that is on this VM, it will learn on it will work on port 8081, and it is mapped to port 80 inside the container. Okay, and here we'll also give it a name. Container, a name can be given web app 1, same name as image name, and we are creating a container from this image web app 1. This is the one. Okay, and just press enter, and I forgot docker run command. Docker run -d for detached mode, map port 8081 to port 80 inside the container, give it a name as web app 1, and use the image web app 1. So what it will do is it will, okay, so what I did is sudo docker ps. So it created the image. Yeah, it has created the image in the earlier step itself. So what I'll do is I'll just stop it, sudo docker stop, and also remove it. Assume that nothing was there. Okay, so we only have docker images. We have only a web app image, and we'll just run a docker container. Web app 1. Okay, now it has created sudo docker ps. We have an image. We have a container. Just to curl localhost 8081, we can see it is displaying the web page. That is our custom image. By default, nginx will give welcome to nginx page. Now we are having our custom image page, and if I do, my IP has changed now. So if I do curl IP address 8081, it will also work. And if you browse it from the any browser, it will also work. It will give a simple HTML web app page. And remember, if I do sudo docker ps, this is the running image. Okay, so I can stop this image, sudo docker stop. Okay, and I can even start it. So if I do to stop, if I do ps will show only the running containers, ps-a will show running and non-running containers. So we just now stop this container. To start it, the command would be docker start. Okay, now again it has started, and if you see, and it is not docker run will not start the container. It is only for the first time we'll be using docker run. Many people get confused that docker run will start the container. It does start it, but only for the first time. Okay, later on, if you want to, if you again run this command like this, docker run, okay, it will give an error that this name is already in use. Okay, so don't think that docker run is a docker start command. Okay, so
So run is like a cloning, is it?